I feel for you so, so hard if you are just like sobbing in a puddle of your own tears and you feel like you can't get out of it, but you're going to make yourself super, super proud by doing all of these things. You're going to start making money and you're going to start keeping it. And hi and welcome. If you haven't watched any of my videos, my name's Kirsten or Kit, and my channel is all about me going from $50,000 in debt to combining my income with my partner and then us working together towards financial independence. All right, let's do this thing. I was in roughly $50,000 of debt when my boyfriend proposed to me in 2022, and I had an absolute mental breakdown, thinking of handing him all my shitstorm finances, making him responsible to clean up my mess. So it prompted massive action for me. And then I made this list today of just me putting myself in my shoes back then about what I did to get it together. It's probably not an exhaustive list, but I really did try my best to think about people in the new year, creating resolutions, maybe not knowing where to start. And so this may be a good time to have some action items for those of you who are trying to get your financial ducks in a row. It is super tough if you feel like they're completely out of control, but this list will absolutely help you get yourself out of the dumpster fire, which is what I call like my financial situation a few years ago. This is the video for you. Number one, I feel like this goes without saying, this is a Dave Ramsey staple, but you have to stop using your credit cards immediately. Leave them at home, put them in a box under your bed or something, keep them handy, but not too handy, and I'll tell you why. The only reason why you're keeping them around is so you don't forget about which ones you have and forget about paying one off. Take them off the wallet on your phone, take them off of your shopping cart on Amazon, all of your options for Uber Eats, anything you know that you use your cards on your phone for, take them off. They've got to go. I will say you won't be cutting them up like I did, unless they're just really, really bad, but we'll save that for later and maybe another video. This one's in there for the special kids like me who were paying out-of-state tuition. I feel like this one is a dead giveaway, but I was doing it and I needed to stop. I added, I think, $9,000 to my total student loan debt in one semester on 2 classes. I think it was like 9 credits and it was $1,000 a credit. Absolutely, unfathomable, not okay. I needed to spend my time making money and not studying if I wanted to be where I wanted to be. And so that lesson is learned. Number 3, get the help of a financial advisor. Thankfully, I found one through Greater Impact. It was a nonprofit organization in Bozeman, Montana. I reached out and they got back to me. And this financial advisor actually worked for an investment firm, but he was a Dave Ramsey type guy. I think he worked for Dave Ramsey years ago. Thankfully, that's the kind of guy that I met up with just on Zoom, and he gave me kind of the snowball baby steps method to start out. I want to be really careful to give you advice on this one because I know that there's financial advisors or mentors and they will like try to sell you life insurance or something. So just be really, really careful that you are talking to the right person. If there's somebody in your life who's really frugal, you know that they invest, they talk about money wisely, even if that's something that you've never brought up in conversation, maybe start having those conversations. I don't know, it's really tough when you don't know anything about money in the beginning, but honestly, you could just watch Dave Ramsey videos on YouTube and that would be a great first start. But I will say, don't cut up your credit cards. Just keep them under your bed for now. Don't freaking use them. Don't even think about it. But don't cut them up. Not at least right now. Number 4, I think this is the most important step to get really like crazy OCD about. Number 4 is I calculated how much I owed to who and when I owed it. I used 2 different methods for that, and I will show you on my iPad kind of screenshots or close-ups of this, but this is crucial to my success mentally to make sure that I didn't miss a payment. And I also have to include here that this means I had to pick up the phone calls from the collections agencies. I did this by speaking to the representative. I confirmed my name, which big gulp, that was so hard to do in the very beginning. And without confirming how much I owed at first, I asked who the balance was for, like if it was for Capital One, or I think I literally had like a Kohl's and a Target or TJ Maxx like credit card that I let go to collections. This is all when I was like 20 years old, by the way. Anyways, when you ask them what the balance is, you have to simply state that you can't pay the balance. And before going into the conversation, you have to know that the collections agencies, they buy your debt from the credit card company or whoever you owed the debt to originally for pennies on the dollar. So when they're asking you for the full amount, they're getting massive profits. And when you tell them that you can't pay the full amount, they'll give you a payment plan. They'll give you a monthly bill for X amount of months that equals the total due. But again, like I did, you can tell them that you still can't do it. It helps if you cry, in my experience. It was really easy to do at that point. I was not even hustling them. And then we'd play this dance multiple times of me saying no, and then they'd lower the total balance and say something like, okay, if you can pay half of the total balance today, or like before, July 22nd, in the next 15 days or something, the debt will be showed as canceled, or I forget the word that it used when it's a close on the account, but it's like not the full amount. It shows on your credit report, but I honestly don't think it matters, and it's worth it. It's worth it to not pay the full amount. Anyways, I would agree to these terms to pay like half of the total amount. One thing that I should say before you actually call them is make sure that you know how much you're owing, so you can kind of like have this preliminary conversation, hang up and be like, listen, I can't do anything about it right now. And then once you have that, like half of that total balance saved up, call them back and see if they'll do the offer again, and then you'll be able to pay them because you've kind of prepared beforehand. The other tip I have for this is, if you give them your financial info over the phone, get a letter that states that your account has a zero balance through email, and in the mail. You want to get this in writing for sure. And then I only did this actually one time out of the multiple collections agencies that I had to go through, but Dave Ramsey will tell you to send a check or a money order, because I guess there's horror stories of the collections agencies using your financial info to withdraw multiple times from your account. And that didn't happen to me, thank God, but just a heads up for you that is an option. Okay, so we're still on number 4, getting a grip on how much you owe to who and when you owe that minimum amount every month. So you have to go on each app or website for every credit card, personal loan, student loan that you owe to, and get the payment due date and the minimum payment amount. All right, that was a wordy one. Number 5, I'm already overwhelmed, but you got this. Are you writing furiously? Because this is too important. Then I took these creditors' amounts and dates, and I wrote down each debt from least to greatest. And then I also made this calendar, which I will put up the calendar here on the screen. At the beginning of each month, I would highlight my paydays in green and fill in the debts owed on each day that it would come out of my account. Then I would make sure that my account wouldn't overdraft, and I knew how much I needed in my account for the next 2 weeks. So added that all up, found a total, made sure that was in my account every 2 weeks, plus some buffer, because in the beginning there were extra things coming out, and I'll touch on that later. So for the next 2 weeks, I even knew how much I needed to work to make the right amount of money to cover these bills. And I also used this calendar to track my daily spending. So at the end of each day, I would go back into, because I was only using my debit card, I would go back into my bank account, go to just that debit card checking account, and write down everything that I spent. That you can see here for August of 2022. I've got $39.43 for food, probably at the grocery store, and then another grocery store, $54.11. My car payment came out on the 5th, so $335.56 came out on the 5th. Yeah, so you can just see I did that every single day, regardless of how many different charges I had. I would write them all down. Yeah, everything I purchased went onto the calendar in red, and then any dollar that I made went onto the calendar in green. And the awesome part about this calendar is that it really kept me motivated. I looked forward to doing this every day, because eventually I was able to note in the future, where you can see here in September, I hit the goal of baby step number 1, which is $1,000 in savings, on September 29th. And even though I'm pretty sure I went and had to buy tires the next month and that all went out the window, I had to redo it, it was still huge. And I made a cute little note there that made me excited about getting that $1,000 in savings. I noted these goals in the future because I had calculated how much I'd make, and I could time it to the week that I would pay off my next debt in full, and I'd have one last payment to make. So Let's look for one. Yeah, so this cute little note on October 1st, my Surge credit card or whatever paid off. And then I made a little goal note at the top, another credit card paid off. And so these were just little wins for me. And it just made it really exciting to get to the next week every single time. Even though I was working really hard, working a lot of hours, it was just so exciting to gain momentum, like they call the snowball method or the avalanche method, what it does for you psychologically. It is so nice to start winning with money instead of feeling completely overwhelmed by it. That brings me to point number 6. Any extra dollar that I had at the end of the month went to my lowest remaining debt. When I paid off that debt, we celebrated. It was really, really embarrassing at first. I say we because I was living with Bradley at the time and we didn't have our finances together. So he didn't know the exact scope of how much shit I was in with my debt, but he did know what I was working on with it, paying off my debts. I was sharing with him kind of what I was doing. So when we paid off that debt, we celebrated. And like I said, he didn't know the full scope of it. It was embarrassing at first because I was struggling with these like really low balances where he had credit card debt too. But yeah, it was embarrassing because I was struggling with these balances that were like $250, $500, $700 that I just couldn't pay off. And so for months and months, I was paying off these debts that we were celebrating that were only a few $100s. But we still celebrated. We did a high five in the kitchen and we got a hug and he gave me a "that's amazing." And it really was. So even the little things in the beginning, you definitely have to celebrate. Again, with the calendar, what I did with this too, at the end of the month, I totaled every penny together to see how little I could spend. And then each month, I tracked this at the top of my calendar, and I did the same with my income. And even though there was no gap in between my income and my spending because I was sending everything towards my debt, my income did increase, and I did get to that $1,000 for emergency fund. And honestly, that $1,000 I was really proud of because that was the most I ever saved and consistently kept in my account without touching ever. Number 8, this is where you stop the hemorrhaging of the cash. When I saw my automatic payments being made to Audible for like $14, a meditation app, Aura, maybe Insight Timer as well, period tracking app Flow, canceled them. I had a website domain or maybe 2 that I never used, canceled. Canva, canceled that. I think I had Lightroom, Photoshop, all of those I really love to use, canceled those. Auto subscriptions on Amazon for like pre-workout or vitamins, canceled those. Honestly, just in the ones that I could actually remember that I had back then, probably saved me $200. So that was huge. Number 9 is before you're working 70 hours a week, if you're not already, you need to get another job. So I made a resume to get that 3rd job at this point, sent it out, followed up, interviewed, and followed up again after that. Be really diligent about sending those emails or calling the company, reaching out, thanking them for their time for the interview, saying that you enjoyed it, are looking forward to the next steps, kind of thing like that. Number 10 would be I picked up any extra incentive shifts that were already offered at the job that I had. This one was a hospital job, so I think it makes it a little bit easier. It was a post-COVID world. It was really crazy, but weekends, overnights, overtime, anything, I was picking it up. They sent a text to my phone, and then I would text the team lead and just let them know that I was available for whatever hours to whatever hours because I had to get my hourly rate to increase. This is probably when I read Your Money or Your Life. And I realized that they call it your life energy. That's what you're being paid for when you go to work. So I wanted to get that amount to get as high as possible. This was a huge way that I did it, just picking up these incentive shifts. My base pay also increased because I dropped from part-time status, which is half-time. I think you do 36 hours in 2 weeks is your minimum amount that you can work. Of course, you can work more, but I dropped that down to PRN or just as needed, which is 36 hours in a month. This meant a few things. When I dropped down from part-time to PRN, the hospital didn't pay for my health insurance anymore. Since they didn't pay for my health insurance, I was uninsured, but thankfully healthy enough to do this without barring any accidents. But it took me from about $13 after taxes to $17 take home. Now, when I was at the hospital picking up these incentive shifts, let's say I was picking up double time, especially like overnight or on a weekend, because they'd pay, I think, $2 extra on a weekend, $4 extra overnight, and then double time as well, your base pay. So I was making almost $50 an hour, which is a big difference from $13 an hour. Let me tell you, when you go from $13 an hour to $50 an hour, you don't really mind going into work or staying up all night with suicidal patients. It's pretty good when you get that paycheck. It feels amazing. This goes without saying, but number 11 is saying no to concerts, eating out with friends, haircuts, and getting your hair colored for sure, getting your nails done, or new clothes, anything. Seriously. What's nice is I had the added excuse during this time if friends wanted to ask me out that I was working, because I actually was. I will put a little unplanned side note in here that I didn't feel as if I was compromising my health, because that is one of my main values. So I was still taking a multivitamin, a fish oil pill. I was still eating really well, which I'll cover that later, and still going to the gym when I could. So I was still paying for a gym membership. That's really important to mention, just because I think everybody needs to have a little wiggle room with at least their number one value point. So I feel like it's a privileged place to talk about. You can't go into extreme deprivation, because I think it's honestly necessary when you're in this much trouble. But there can be one thing, and if it's your health, I think it's okay to not cut completely everything out. I guess that rolls us right into our next topic though. Number 12 is if there was free food, I was eating it. At the hospital all the time, there would be pizza, donuts, cupcakes. I know that's not like real food or anything, but they'd also cater for doctor's week or nurse's week. I was taking Tupperwares home as well if I could. And then I got a job at a restaurant. So if they said, oh shoot, like so-and-so has to go home, will you cover their tables? Then I was saying yes, because they would typically offer dinner or a gift card or something like that. And I was definitely in there, just being scrappy and literally eating scraps. And then this one, I feel like I don't really count towards making a really big difference in my budget, because I've always been a meal prepper, or not always, but for the past like 7 years, I've made a lot of my food at home. But I made all of my meals at home besides the free food that I would get out, and I would make them in bulk. So if you aren't already doing this, get a big bag of rice, the biggest one they have. We had a Costco membership, so literally it might be like a 15-pound bag of rice. Whatever store you go to, get the biggest bag of rice they have. Learn how to make 4 cups of it at a time. We have an Instant Pot. Like I said, I already had nice kitchen appliances, you know what I mean? If you don't have an Instant Pot, that's fine. Cook as much rice as you can at one time, and get good at cooking it too. Like if the first time you do it, it's like hard and crunchy, that blows. Honestly, throw that out. But get good at making rice, soft, fluffy rice that you like. Add a little bit of oil or butter, salt, make it delicious. Get a big old pack of chicken breasts or thighs, which are even cheaper, ground beef or whatever protein. Cook that up in bulk as well with seasonings. Get all of your containers out. Get like 10 of them, 12 of them. Put them all out on the counter. Scoop your rice in the bottom. Then put on your protein. And then a vegetable. You need some kind of vegetable. It doesn't matter if it's just like lettuce, greens. It can be like a frozen stir fry pack that you cook up. Put that on top too. You need some fiber in your life. Keeps you happy, and it's really important. And then get some oil. It could be olive oil, avocado oil. Preferably, like, don't get a vegetable or like canola oil. Get like legit seed oils, like something good for you. And then pour that on top too. You're gonna do that with every single pack. Make them identical, or like half chicken, half beef. And then the way that you make yourself not hate yourself every day: salt, pepper, hot sauce if you like it, and then any spices you like. Spices are the only thing you get to buy now. Get a mix, like a steak mix, or get like a curry seasoning mix. Get everything bagel seasoning is really good. Go and experiment with spices. That's how you spice up your life now, because you're staying home and you're eating your cooked at home meals. Anyways, so you're gonna have like your 10 meal prep meals out on the counter, and then you're just gonna do like this few of them are gonna be steak seasoning, this few is gonna be the curry masala mix or whatever you've got, and then the other ones are gonna be like Italian. Put some hot sauce on the ones that you want, and then that's how you kind of differentiate flavors. So like mix and match. Do like one spice with the chicken for lunch, and then do ground beef with the different spice for dinner. They'll taste different, they'll be delicious, and you can stomach them for the entire week, and you've saved yourself a lot of money on eating food. And it's also, you're saving yourself time, because you're going to work. You don't have time to like you don't have time to do this every single day. So prepare in advance to have days and days where you don't get to make yourself any food. You're just taking it out of the fridge and you're going. Make sure that food's good because you're not throwing it out. And then for breakfast, you're having oatmeal and eggs, and then you're done. I don't know if it's just because I'm 10 months pregnant, but this video absolutely exhausted me. And it's definitely also because just going back in time and thinking about myself in my shoes in 2022, in the very beginning at least, makes me want to hurl. But going through all of these things that I did every single day actually makes me really, really proud. So if this is what you need to do, you got to do it. I feel for you so hard if you are just like sobbing in a puddle of your own tears and you feel like you can't get out of it, but you're going to make yourself super proud by doing all of these things. You're going to start making money and you're going to start keeping it, and it's going to be amazing. So good luck. Happy New Year, and go out there and fuck shit up. That's not how I should end this. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week in my video. I appreciate you so much, and make that money.